You're checking out a Mornings with Lone Star podcast. Don't forget, I, Dick Schissler, your morning DJ, is live every weekday morning from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. on Conroe's FM 104.5, 106.1, and online at irlonestar.com with your morning radio show, Mornings with Lone Star, with weather and traffic at the top and bottom of every hour, and taking song requests on our Facebook page. If you want to be a guest on my show or sponsor Mornings with Lone Star, just contact me online at dick@irlonestar.com or call the station at 936-647-5747. Now, before we get to the interview on the podcast, I want to say a quick thank you to our sponsors of Mornings with Lone Star. For your morning coffee craves, or pretty much all-time coffee craves, make sure to check out Conroe Coffee at 206 North Main in downtown Conroe, Texas. And again, a very special thank you to the sponsors of Mornings with Lone Star. Now, the interview from Mornings with Lone Star. Good morning. You're listening to Mornings with Lone Star here on irlonestar.com. This is Dick, your morning DJ. Hanging out in the studio right now is Meet the Candidates. We've been talking about this. Our special guest today is Tony Fuller. Check him out on Facebook, Tony Fuller for Conroe City Council. You can find him very easy to find him that way, or just type in Tony Fuller City Council Conroe on Google, and you can find all the information about him when we have our discussion today. Welcoming also to the studio is my co-host, my special co-host during these Meet the Candidate segments, Nathan Arizati. If you hear keyboard typing, that is usually him responding to people on Facebook, or he's always doing something else. Yes, you can message questions to Tony on Facebook for Montgomery County Lifestyle or Mornings with Lone Star. Email me at dick@irlonestar.com. I want to say good morning to you, Nathan. How are you doing?
I'm pretty good. How are you?
Doing good. This overcast is going to make me fall asleep by noon today, but other than that, I'm going to be okay today. We are doing Meet the Candidates, so I want to introduce our guest. Tony Fuller is in the studio, and he's running for seat number 1 in the Conroe City Council seat, and also, folks, cityofconroe.org/elections for polling locations and times. You have all the rest of the week this week and Monday and Tuesday for early voting, and then, of course, June 25th for the big, big day. Tony, good morning. How are you doing?
Good morning, Dick. I'm just doing fine. It's been quite a week.
Oh, I imagine. I always wonder what it's like for athletes compared to people running for political office during this type of week and next week, and of course voting day, because it really is, I mean, it's a big day or big time, I guess, in your life. Is this the first time you ever run for anything?
This is my first. I've been around politics for a long time, but this is the first time I've ever run for office.
Okay.
The time really seemed right because Conroe is in a place that it needs direction.
Okay.
And it needs change. But yes, it's my very first time.
So if you don't mind, I'm going to take that and run with that a little bit, because I always find it neat, the backstory of why you decided to put your hat in the ring, in a sense. So the city council position, the person you're running for is out of term, from what I understand. They can't run anymore, so that makes the seat open. And I'm guessing you read that in the paper, or one of your friends. A lot of times it's friends going, hey, you should do this. So tell me, how did this all start for you?
Well, I have been around Conroe city government a little because I worked in the Arts and Culture Grant and Review Committee for 7 years, of which I was the lead the last couple of years. And so I had some interaction with the city. I also did some speaking to some of the nonprofit groups here in terms of people needing skill sets developed, and I gave some presentations there. But specific to this, I'd been thinking about giving back for a couple of years in the public arena. I mean, I'm a college professor, so you might say that's already public service, but in a more prescribed manner, I was thinking about some type of political office. And so I heard that Marcia Porter was terming out, and she's done a very good job in her role for 8 years as city council person for place number 1. And her background is education. My background is education. And I just thought I saw a lot of symmetry between her background and my background. And the time seemed to be right for several other reasons. So I then went and got permission from Lone Star College, Montgomery, which is where I work, and to I had to have permission to.
Well, this is time
Take
consuming,
this
I imagine,
job,
especially when you're placed. And this is all volunteer. But a lot of people don't really realize the city council seats are volunteer positions and not paid. If I look at me, no, they're paid. They're
paid.
You need to correct me, Nate.
They don't
Thank
make
you.
a huge living. It's not,
It's not dependable income.
No, if you live under the bridge somewhere, you could live off of it or lived in your car. But yeah, it's paid. It's compensated.
Okay.
I term the pay as a tip.
Okay.
So you get paid, but it's more like a tip instead of real pay. But anyway, so I got permission, and then I thought about it for 3 or 4 months. And obviously I decided to run.
Well, that's great. And then we're in a runoff, folks. So that's what this election part is, the runoff election. Just to remind folks, so when they go vote, again, there's only going to be 2 people when you're voting for seat number 1. So not to confuse people, and they got it, right?
There are so many elections that have gone on in the last 4 months because you had the county elections, we have city elections. The county elections also had runoffs. Runoffs are, of course, run when you have more than 2 candidates and no one gets a majority vote. And so then you have a runoff, and that's what happened in place number 1. There were 4 candidates, and no one received a majority, so the top 2 vote getters are then put into a runoff. And this is going to be the last of the elections, of course, until the national election cycle occurs next November.
I'm going to do my best to get those folks in. But I don't know if they'll come in. Would it be great to get Donald Trump in here?
Well, you do know that we could. There's 2 more candidates we could get in. Don't want to take away from Tony, but it's not official that Constable Cash won.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Precinct 1. There was a Democrat who signed up, but no one knows him, seen him, heard from him. I'll see if I can get him.
That's another story that we'll develop later.
I mean, I will. I'll try to get him in here
later
for Cash. But yeah, you're right. There's nothing going on until November national. So this is the big thing, and this is what people want to know about is City of Conroe. And there's a lot of people that don't live in Conroe and can't vote, but they work here. They live outside. So it's very important to them as well.
Well, it's one thing I want to continue on our next segment with Tony, if you don't mind, is we'll come back after a couple songs and we'll get to know you a little bit more. But also, I want to talk about the issues you want to talk about with the city of Conroe, and then we'll move on from that conversation.
I would like to do that, and of course, you do frame it however you want it. I would like to give people a little understanding of what my actual background is.
Okay, yeah, no, most definitely.
So.
And, folks, you can visit him on Facebook, Tony Fuller for City Council, for information while you're waiting during the break and read more about him. If you have questions for Tony, we're on Facebook, too. Mornings with Lone Star and Montgomery County Lifestyle. Send your questions through the messages, and we'll relay them back on the air. You are listening to Lone Star Community Radio, Montgomery County's community radio station. We'll be back, and we're going to play some music. Here is Isaac Jacob Band with Water Tower. Don't worry. We'll get back to the podcast in a second. I just want to let you know I'm live every weekday morning from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. on Mornings with Lone Star with Conroe's FM 104.5, 106.1, and worldwide at irlonestar.com. I have a lot of fun hosting the show, and if you want to have fun, you should join me. Join in by visiting Mornings with Lone Star on Facebook, and make sure to comment and post a song request if you want to hear anything. Mornings with Lone Star is your morning community radio show on irlonestar.com and Conroe's FM 104.5, 106.1. Dustin Soniero with Whiskey Makes Me Miss Her. You're listening to Mornings of Lone Star. We're back with Meet the Candidates. It's 9:17 on irlonestar.com. Sitting with Nathan Arizati of Montgomery County Lifestyle. And we're going to back to the conversation with Tony Fuller. We're going to let him, he's running for, just to remind you folks, he's running for seat number 1 in the Conroe City Council. And early voting has started this week, and then on Monday, Tuesday, and then, of course, June 25th for the main date to go vote. cityofconroe.org/election for voting information, and you can visit Tony on Facebook, Tony Fuller for City Council. Tony, we're going to get to know him a little bit more, his background, of course, because he has an extensive background, and it's very interesting, and I have this little biography card, and I know all about it, but now you're about to know all about it. Tony, we're going to kind of go back to who you are, where you've been, and what you're up to, and then I know we talked a lot about how with Lone Star College, you're a professor, and you're wanting to run for seat, so you had to make arrangements to do that. But prior to that, tell me about your education. Tell me about what makes you qualified for running for city council.
Well, it's a great question. Qualifications, wow. I have lots of college degrees. I'm a native Texan. I grew up in Houston. After high school, I went to UT Austin, and I spent 4 years there studying radio, television, film, and graduated and went to the East Coast for 5 years. Worked primarily as a producer, director, writer type, and won some awards. I won a national directing award, a state directing award, and a regional directing award, and a couple of local ones. So I went out to L.A. I worked out there for over 10 years as a producer, director, writer, promotions, program development type person. And then I had a little epiphany when I went out of the Southern California, because in Los Angeles everything is there. You've got the ocean, the mountains, entertainment, just anything you want. But I went out and I had a really great 5.5 week driving vacation, and when I came back I noticed that the people in LA aren't so nice to each other. I had a lot of dear friends there, but so I thought about it, and I ended up deciding to change my career, and I thought about teaching, and I tried it just a little. I liked it. I knew I wanted to teach at the university college level, so I went back to school. I hadn't been in school for 14 years. And I finished when I was 21 at UT, so I went back, and I was working about 55 hours a week, and I signed up for 3 grad classes, and I found out I really loved it. So anyway, I did that for a year, sold my place there, moved back to Houston, which is where my immediate family lives, enrolled at University of Houston. I have a master's in communications, and I have a doctorate in political science with a minor in public policy, which is what this position is. So I have, in my first career, I developed a lot of knowledge about the business rules and etiquette. What is business? And the last 25 years or so, I've been a college professor, university professor, and I've been around politics a long time. I've worked even in my very first job. I went out and shot political commercials. In South Carolina, we were the only company in the U.S. at that time that used videotape. We could have a short turnaround, so both parties came to us, and we turned it around. Anyway, I think what qualifies me is I have real work experience, I have the knowledge, political knowledge, and I am willing to do the work to help Conroe be what it can be.
Okay, I want to take that end statement right there and expand on that. What can it be that you see?
The best part of Conroe is that it could be the best of what exists today and married to what's going to come, because this is a juggernaut. This is an economic juggernaut. Conroe is growing. The question is, how will it grow? What the development of growth will be. Growth in itself is not good. Look at 1960. It grew, but it wasn't manicured.
It's the Wild West.
It is the Wild West, and it's all concrete. But we want growth, and we absolutely want growth, but we want to maintain growth that will allow the best parts of what some people refer to as all Conroe to exist. One of the distinctions between Los Angeles and here, I've been back a really long time. Mm-hmm. This is not anything new. I've been back a long time. Is that in Los Angeles, the people are not nice to each other. Here, why I like Conroe, why I'm interested in local race is because people are nice to each other. You walk down the street and you just say, "Hey, how are you?" And guess what they say back? They say, "Oh, I'm pretty good. How are you?" Try that in L.A. "Hey, how are you?" Get away from me. What do you want? Go on. Here, and I like that, and I think that's the best part of Conroe, old Conroe, this built-in native friendliness. And I want to retain that with growth. We need to grow, and we're going to continue to grow. The question is, will we exclude the best parts, or we will include them?
Because you always got to use your strengths to your advantage. And on your card, you handed me a card. One thing that this totally connects with is the quality of life. Mm-hmm. We spoke about how the quality of life here in Conroe is pretty great, and with this growth, you have to protect it and also maybe take advantage of it, because we want to use the great people of Conroe is to get people part of the growth, become part of Conroe, and become part of what makes Conroe great is the current people here and the hospitality and things like that. So I imagine it takes some type of leadership, and especially with city council and the mayor, that kind of works together to put it from paper to actual force, or put it out there. And so I think that's why it's important when we vote, go vote now, and listen to Tony here, understand why it would be important to vote for you, right?
Absolutely. One of the elements that I think could be quickly improved, we've had some good council people, and we've had some that I would say weren't so good. But one of the things that we need to work on is collaboration among the city council people. And what I see and have seen since I've been involved in this is fractions. There have been lots of factions within city council that fight too much. It doesn't mean we're going to agree on everything. We never will. But it means to do it in a civil manner and to do it in a manner that promotes collegiality, so we can move forward as a whole and not just serve special interest.
Now, moving on from the quality of life and the importance of that, if you don't mind me asking, what are we currently doing really well here? It sounds like the hospitality and the nature, the base of the core of the city is good. It's a good core of people, and as long as we maintain that core, outside of that, what do you see Conroe doing really well in the area?
One of the things that Conroe has above most cities of this size is we really have a vibrant arts and culture arena. And if you look around, and I was lucky enough to be on the committee for 7 years in which reviewed all the applications for possible grants if you were a nonprofit 501c operating out of Conroe. And so I got to see the quality of the different groups that submitted their applications. In fact, right outside your office is a bench, and that bench is painted. And I believe that group is Conroe Live, is it? Anyway, they do a great job going around Conroe and just decorating it and making
they've been updating them or preserving them recently in the past couple months. So
that's right, and that takes money. And it makes our city better because it shows creativity. And look, we've got great theaters around. We've got the Players. We've got the Crichton Theater. We've got the Symphony. We have all of these arts and culture groups, and they provide a positive impact on our city, on our community, and on the people. We have to be careful. We have to treat it like a garden. We've got to give seed money to develop that which we want to develop and not ignore, because then we're going to have a lot of weeds. We don't want weeds. We want flowers.
I'm sitting here with Tony Fuller, who's running for seat number 1 for Conroe City Council. You can catch him on Facebook, Tony Fuller for Conroe City Council, and voting information is at cityofconroe.org/election. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back with Tony, we're going to talk about what are some severe issues that need to be discussed about the city of Conroe, and then foreseeable issues, because the term for city council isn't just 1 year. So we'll find out what Tony feels about what are issues and what are future issues. You're listening to Mornings of Lone Star. I'm hanging out with my co-host with the Montgomery County Lifestyle, Nathan Arizati. If you got questions for Tony, just ask over here, Mr. Nathan Arizati, or me, Mornings of Lone Star, Dick Schissler. We'll be back on irlonestar.com, Lone Star Community Radio, your community radio station. I know. A break in the interview, right in the middle of it. But I want to let you know that Mornings with Lone Star is a great opportunity to sponsor your business. During these little annoying breaks just like this, your business can be heard. Along with live audio spots during our regular live broadcast on Conroe's FM 104.5, 106.1, and our online stream at irlonestar.com. Sponsor Mornings with Lone Star will let you hit people with FM, TV, YouTube, and this podcast. If you're interested, just contact me online at dick@irlonestar.com or call the station 936-647-5747. Mornings with Lone Star is Montgomery County's community radio morning show, and you should be part of it. Now back to the interview. There's some Glenn Campbell for you, and take my hand for a while. Mornings with Lone Star here at irlonestar.com, hanging out in the studio with my buddy Nathan Arizona of Montgomery County Lifestyle. We are doing Meet the Candidates. Nathan, you've been awfully quiet. You okay?
I'm doing good, dude. He's talking, you're asking questions, and no one's really sent me in any questions yet.
So you got to go Montgomery County Lifestyle for that. And I do want to let people know today was a very important day for the internet. This is going to be kind of off topic. The federal courts, Third District Appeal Courts in D.C., voted that it's a utility now. And so what you're going to be seeing, folks, is some reform in the internet. So it's going to be like water and electricity. So I just want to let people know that, foresee that, watch it happen. It's going to happen. And it's somewhat of a good thing, somewhat of a bad thing. We'll see how it turns out. But in the studio right now, we have Tony Fuller, who's running for Conroe City Council seat number 1. We're going to continue the conversation with him, and we're learning a lot more about him, and we kind of touch base on what good things are going on in Conroe. Now let's focus on the things that can be or kind of important today that might be seen as bad, and especially what's important tomorrow that we really need to fix. So, Tony, what do you think currently, right now, in the city of Conroe, we need to improve immediately? What problems are we facing today?
I've identified the biggest problem is communication. We need to communicate with the citizens. We need to connect with the citizens, and we need to be able to listen to what their issues are. It's easy for us to sit up here and decide what we think are the problems, and I'm going to define a few of those in just a moment. But number one revolves around communication, not only communication from council members, pardon me, to citizens and from citizens to council members, but council members to themselves, to each other. And we need to be, each council member really needs to do the work. They need to be impartial in how they arrive at decisions. If they're not impartial at how they arrive at decisions, that's how you get bad decisions. Water is a huge issue. And the reason it's such a big issue right now is because many citizens in Conroe have to pay a high water rate. And it has to do with a contract that City Council approved several years ago. And so there's an extra, effectively a tax rate or a penalty for using excess water. That deal never should have been made, and if proper research had been done, that deal would not have been made. And in that respect, I hold council responsible for that because they just didn't look at it closely enough. And you have to be able to research. You have to be able to... Conroe is not a small place anymore. And we have issues that are complicated. And you have to be able to look at complicated issues and to assess complicated issues, look at viable alternatives, and then select the best alternative of all those.
You hit on something I need to bring up, and it's for you. And I don't know if we gave Dwayne this chance or not too, but I know how he feels about it. You've mentioned some issues with the city, good and bad issues, and the way things are handled. But you just said you blame council for that. So real quickly, that's a hot point to me. City council, yes or no, has more power / authority / responsibility because you're the guys that vote, men and women. You're the ones that vote. I know we get caught up a lot of times. The mayor's the figurehead, the big guy, so people think a mayor can promise this, can promise that. But technically, you're the one that the people need to listen to. And aren't you the one that we need to come to probably with our problems?
Absolutely. If any citizen has a problem, they should be able not only to call, but they should feel welcome to call their city council. Any of the 5 representatives, we're all at large.
Well, I just wanted to bring that up because I want to give you guys that. Running for city council to me is the lesser of the public eye and maybe not as fancy, but you guys are the ones that can either make my life better or not.
There are several different forms of government. You can have a strong mayor, weak council, you can have a council, you can have an administrative form of government. The way that I look at the Conroe, I see it as a 50-50. Yes, we vote, and the mayor is kind of the drum beat. They want to kind of guide us in a certain way, but we are the ones that actually vote, with some rare exceptions if there's a tie.
Well, there we go.
Anyway, back to where you were. I just wanted to bring that up because I don't think that people pay as much attention sometimes to the city council running. They put all their effort on who's the mayor, who's the mayor, who's the mayor.
Right.
And that's great.
Right.
And they deserve it. And Doris, no offense, you deserve it. Jim and Toby deserve it. But I want to know what a city councilman is going to do, because that is who going to vote yes or no for something that'll make my life better or worse or whatever. And I want them to look at the city right now, since we have the kind of government we have now, as a whole, not individual pieces of a pie, until the day that we go to single districts.
Right. Single districts, in my estimation, would be a good idea, but that's another issue. Okay. So let's kind of march down some of the issues that water is an issue. We have to be careful when we think about water as an issue, because city council is the smallest of all the governmental jurisdictions that are involved in this, and we signed away our rights to how we're going to deal with water. So we're in somewhat trouble, and I ascribe that not to just here city council was bad. I think that if city council had done more homework, more diligently, they would have come up with a different answer. Secondly, beyond that, we need to be careful how we develop business. I think I mentioned that earlier. And we want to develop business, and we develop the right businesses and bring in big businesses, and the rest will fill in itself. Infrastructure is a very important arena also, and most people think of infrastructure as just physical, but it can also be service related. So infrastructure, yes, as was pointed out to me recently, our water system here is antiquated, and as I've mentioned before this interview, in Houston's water structure, and part of the water problem is Houston could get a lot of our water. If we could just encourage Houston to improve their own infrastructure, they could save up to 20 to 25% of their total water usage. And so infrastructure is also important here on water. It's obvious about roads, etc. What about the service aspects of infrastructure? The service aspects of infrastructure have to do with the firefighters. We need additional stations, etc. We need to upgrade to the standard of 4 on a truck. But this takes time. All of these issues you don't fix overnight. These are 5-10 year issues. The fire department needs to be updated. The law enforcement here, fortunately, the CPD is getting a new building. They're just about to open it up. So infrastructure is very important. But I want to cap this off by saying one of the problems is the back to communication. That's why it's number 1 on my list, is because we don't have proper communication and cooperation between the city and the county. The city and the county should be working in harmony, not at odds with each other. And there's an issue right now about voting. Where do you vote? We only have 2 places to vote for city council, and it shouldn't be that way. We should have many more places to vote, but unfortunately the city council made a mistake several years ago. In my estimation, it was a mistake, and said we're going to separate our voting structure and apparatus from the county. And now they don't want to go back on it, but I think that should be harmonized because it'll reduce cost and it'll greatly enhance efficiency. And this is not just across the city county. It also has to do with other agencies and quasi-agencies and associations that work within this local arena. So,
well, I think what's interesting about these issues, too, is as a normal citizen doesn't realize the impact. And a lot of things that you touched on are long-term. You don't know until further down the road, especially with the water issue and the voting issue and things like that. So it's important, folks, to get involved and listen to the city council and get your opinion to the city council, because you can go to the meetings and you can sign up on the agenda and you can voice your opinion, because you don't want to be defeated just by not voting and not being involved. You want to be defeated, yelling about, talking about it, and getting the city council aware of your issues and things like that. So I think it's very important. Like I said, it's important. Communication is a real good way to get the efficiency going in the city and getting people involved. And
to touch on that real quick, recently, because of some questions that have come into me, Montgomery County Lifestyle, about different candidates, and I'm not just going to throw something out there if I haven't researched it myself, because people just want to stir up trouble. But I've spent the last couple of days, and I guess I'm one of those now, but I've got the materials that I researched. And that's to your effect. I've gone back and looked at some of the archives of City Council, and it's cool to see the council looking at an agenda item one way, and then citizen or citizens group will bring things to their attention, and so they go back and they talk about it and they modify. So it's not always that they just say no. I've seen some positive things happen when people get involved. And it's cool to go back and look at those archived records and to see not just what the councilman did or didn't say, the mayor did or didn't say, how they voted or didn't vote, but the people getting involved, the citizens getting involved. And you're right. I'd love to see a lot more of that happen.
One of the things that's really perhaps describes what I'm trying to get to in terms of quality of life has to do and I'm not trying to emulate the Woodlands, but the people that live in the Woodlands, guess what? They are happy to live in the Woodlands. They want to live in the Woodlands. Where do you live? I live in the Woodlands. Okay, and I want to retain the best parts of Conroe, and I want to develop a perspective of the people that live here, and they say, where do you live? I live in Conroe. Oh, really? Yeah, I've heard such good things, or it's a really great place, and everybody likes it. And yes, and that's what I would like to enhance and really get people excited about our community, and part of that has to do with the ability to communicate with the powers that drive what's going to happen in our community. If you don't feel like they're not going to listen to me, how many people do you think are actually willing to call? I had one person tell me that, I can call city council. Well, yeah, that person's he's run for office for many times. Of course he can. That's not who I'm worried about, the people that are running for office. I'm talking about citizens that have a legitimate beef, that want to connect with somebody and possibly get a resolution. It doesn't mean you're always going to get a resolution, but the ability to communicate your idea should be there and should feel welcomed. And that's what I'd like to happen. And that's the beginning of an aura for the city that would be extremely positive.
We're sitting here with Tony Fuller talking about how we can improve the city of Conroe. He's looking for your vote right now during the early election, and then, of course, June 25th. He's running for City Council, City of Conroe, seat number 1. We'll be back after a couple songs, and if you have a question for Tony, feel free on our Facebook, on Montgomery County Lifestyle, and Mornings with Lone Star. When we come back, we're going to be closing out this segment with Meet the Candidates, Nathan Arizardi, my special co-host, Montgomery County Lifestyle, and we'll be saying goodbye to Tony, and we'll let him have the mic for a couple minutes and kind of give him his soapbox, as you say. And so stick around. You're listening to Mornings with Lone Star on irlonestar.com, on Lone Star Community Radio, soon to be on Conroe's FM, 104.5, 106.1. If you have a song request later in the day, we're on Twitter and Facebook for that. We'll be right back with Tony Fuller, who's running for City Council on Conroe City Council, or seat 1.
Lone Star Community Radio is Montgomery County's community radio station. and we are looking for talk show hosts and volunteer DJs for our music shows. Are you interested in having your own talk show on Lone Star, or have you always wanted to live out your dreams of being a music DJ? With the addition of Conroe's FM 104.5 and 106.1 and video aspects of our talk shows, we are needing people to grow with us. If you or someone you know might be interested, please contact us online at irlonestar.com/contact us, or call the station at 936-647-5747 for more information.
All right, that was Infamous String Dusters. That song, Not Tonight. 9:49. Coming up after this, Meet the Candidates with Mornings of Lone Star. I'm going to be saying goodbye, but Cindy Cochran will be on at 10 o'clock, so stick around for that. That's when our talk block starts here on Lone Star Community Radio. In the studio with me is my special co-host for Meet the Candidates, Nathan Arizzotti of Montgomery County Lifestyle. And just to let you guys know, get out early voting is starting Monday and goes all the way to Friday, and then it'll come back on Monday and Tuesday, and then it'll end for June 25th. Voting locations and times and all a ballot and all that kind of good stuff. cityofconroe.org/election. In the studio right now is a man running for seat number 1 of the Conroe City Council, Tony Fuller. More information on Tony Fuller, just go to Facebook, type in Tony Fuller for City Council of Conroe, or one of those things, or just go to Google, type in Tony Fuller City of Conroe, and you can find him right there. So what we're going to do now is we're going to be closing up the segment. I'm going to give Tony the mic, and he is free to say whatever he wants on his mind. So Tony, go ahead.
I think you should get the 7-second delay out.
That's all you.
That's a little industry joke. First of all, I'd like to just give you my personal belief statement so you'll understand a little bit more about where I'm coming from. I believe in public service, and public service to me means giving back. I believe in personal responsibility, and that means the buck stops wherever it is, at that person. If I do something wrong or right, it's mine. I own it. I believe in economic efficiency. What that means is Conroe has a $150 million budget. That's right, $150 million each year. That's a lot of money. And you have to be judicious in how you spend that money. If you're not, and you spend too much on something that didn't deserve it, or some arbitrary allocation of funds, then something else gets penalized that shouldn't necessarily. Economic efficiency is important. But really, the last is impartial decision making. And what that means is I do not represent special interest. I represent every Conroe citizen. And I base my decisions on not making up my mind first. I look at the issue, then I look at all viable solutions, and then select the best one based on objectivity, based on being impartial, and divorcing myself. If I'm in a situation in which I have a conflict of interest, I'm going to recuse myself from a vote on that. That's important. That's really important to realize what that means, because I do not represent special interest. I'd like to just mention briefly that our country is a democracy. And one gentleman last night corrected me. He said, well, it's a and before he could even start the word republic, I knew where he was going. But there are all kinds of democracies. We're a democracy. Democracy is a participatory form of government. That means that people need to get involved, and they need to feel like they make a difference. How many times have you heard someone say, well, my vote doesn't matter? I can assure you in this election, your vote matters. I can also assure you just as clearly that who you elect matters big time. If you don't take the opportunity to vote, and you don't take the opportunity to research the candidates and find out who they are, character, integrity, temperament are all very important when you're thinking about electing someone. to this type of office. I can assure you that I take all of my work very seriously, and I am running for Conroe City Council, Tony Fuller. Please educate yourself and go vote. I ask for your help in my endeavor, and thank you for listening to this morning.
Well, Tony, I appreciate you taking the time to come in. Folks, if you're just now catching the tail end, we've been talking with Tony Fuller. He's running for seat number 1 in the Conroe City Council. We're going to be podcasting this, so keep an eye out on irlonestar.com. And, of course, Mornings of Lone Star on Facebook. Again, Tony, thank you so much for coming in. And like I said, we'll be podcasting. Nathan, it's good to see you.
You too. Tony, thanks for coming in. Appreciate it. I do know that Doris Hickman, we are going to try to get you on the air.
Well, way to call her out.
Well, she's being shy. So,
well, she wasn't on the ballot today.
No,
so
that's why I said we want to get her in for her own show. She has a lot of knowledge. She was involved in the annexation the whole time. And I think a lot of people would love to hear what she ran for mayor. She deserves that spotlight that we were not able to give her at the beginning because we didn't do this. I just think she deserves it if she wants it.
May I interject something?
Uh-oh.
I would think that Doris Hickman, who lost by the narrowest of margins, what she's done now is establish herself as a major player in Conroe City politics. And she is a very talented, intelligent, hardworking, diligent professional. And I highly encourage her in her future academic and her future political endeavors. And I hope that she's the type of public servant that we want in Conroe. Mm-hmm. So I encourage her.
Saying all these mean things about her without her being able to defend herself.
It's terrible.
We'll see what we can do about that. But you are listening to Mornings of Lone Star. We got to sign off. Cindy Cochran's coming up for the Talk Block on Lone Star Community Radio, your community radio station. Following her, we have the Health Hour, which will be a replay. And before that, we'll be Hanging with the Haters with Mark and Kay Hater. Special guest today will be local theater builder Dennis O'Connor. So that's going to be a very entertaining show. That's at noon today. So stick around, please. We got Cindy Cochran Show. Thank you for tuning in to Mornings of Lone Star. We'll be back tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. on irlonestar.com.
Thanks for checking out this production on Lone Star Community Radio, Montgomery County's radio station. For more information on this show and other shows on Lone Star, check us out online at irlonestar.com. If you're interested in sponsoring a program on Lone Star Community Radio and reaching the local audience of Montgomery County on FM, internet, and TV media, please call 936-647-5747 or contact us online at irlonestar.com. This recording is a Lone Star Community Radio production, produced by the show host and Dick Schissler of Lone Star Community Radio. Interested in volunteering as a music DJ or starting your own talk show? Contact Dick Schissler at dick@irlonestar.com or by phone at 936-647-5747.